This is Annuity Straight Talk. Since 2008, your host, Bryan Anderson, has helped clients nationwide navigate the complex market for annuities. With Bryan's assistance, hundreds of clients have achieved a profitable and secure retirement. I would know, because Bryan has answered many of my questions concerning annuities and retirement planning. So that you can benefit as well, let's get started. Here's Bryan.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Annuity Straight Talk podcast, episode number 32. My name is Bryan Anderson, coming to you from Northwest Montana on a soggy, rainy day. Got a dog that wants to get outside, but he's going to make a dang mess if he does. So we're going to have to keep him under wraps a little bit, but he's got to run anyway. So anyhow, we're going to talk today about a messed up annuity. We're going to talk about an actual problem. Now, I've seen a lot of messed up annuities in my career, but this is one that I actually sold that I thought was messed up for a little bit. Listen through to the end if you want to hear the whole story. It ended up not being that big a deal. Everything was just fine. But this is why kind of the purpose of talking about this is to truly understand the fine print. I've actually got somebody else requested, I want to learn about all the fine print. So I'm probably going to do another episode on that coming up. But there's going to be a little research and a lot of writing for that. That one's going to be kind of boring for me, but very interesting for you. Anyway, but it's a common theme with people, or a common concern is that there's got to be something in there that I don't understand. You don't know what you don't know. And if a lot of people have called me, honestly, information I wrote, and they'll call and they say they have no idea what they actually own or what the annuity is meant to do, or a lot of people think it's supposed to do something that it doesn't. That's why we're Annuity Straight Talk. So this, when I was faced with the possibility that I'd screwed something up, it really shook me to the core, because I stand on, I take pride in the fact that we do a really good job here. So I'll set it up and tell you about this couple that called, a gentleman that called me about 2.5 years ago, and he already owned a couple of annuities, and his purpose was, now you got to have a goal with the contracts, right? And I talk about all sorts of different stuff, different strategies, different ideas. And the point is just to show you a lot of different ways to use it, because, the way you use an annuity might, or some feature of annuity might appeal to you that just is irrelevant to someone else, or even a strategy or a way to use it. So that's why I give you a bunch of different ideas. There's nothing wrong with any of the purposes, so long as it is exactly the goal that you have. And so in this case, the guy said, well, listen, he was 74 at the time. He said, I like to work. I enjoy my job, and I don't know what I'd do if I retired. I'm totally devoted to and love my wife. She's 5 years younger than me. She's never had to worry about stuff. She doesn't like making big decisions. And when I'm gone, I want to make sure that she can just turn it on and will never, ever have to worry about money. So he's primarily buying the annuity for his wife. And but there was a possibility, well, if I do decide to retire, if I stop early, maybe we will take joint life income. So the key was simple. And I like that he was very direct and to the point. He told me at the beginning, he said, I do not care how much the fees are. I do not care how much you make or how much the insurance company makes. I don't need the money. They don't have any, the beneficiaries were all charities, so they didn't have any family they were going to give the money to. Anyhow, and he said, all I want is a guarantee. The rest of it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get bothered with that. And I thought that was really cool. He said, if you can show me the best contract and it will do all the things that I do, I don't care what you make, but I will buy it. And when somebody says that, I'm willing to go to a lot of effort to do it, because obviously the effort's going to be rewarded. And I don't want to beat up on anybody who's had me do a substantial amount of work and never done business with me. But there are a lot of people that have taken vast amounts of time from me and have never done business with me, which is okay, because again, I hope I'm able to, at the very least, help everyone in some way. But I can't, I'd have to make money sometime or I wouldn't be here, because this podcast, it costs a fair bit to get this thing out there. Anyhow, so what I did is I looked up the contracts, and and we had a grid. I made a big spreadsheet, and it was single life on him, single life on her, joint life, different time periods over, we looked at the maximum was a 10-year deferral. So every year you wait, the income amount goes up. And we had a grid with the two top products. Okay. And so company A I'll tell you, it was between AIG and Midland. And so AIG had the highest payout, Midland had the highest payout in years 1 through 3. AIG had the highest payout in years 4 through 6 or 7. And then, 7, 8, 9, 10 was, back to Midland. And he thought that 4 to 6 year range was the most appropriate. That was the most likely where they would take the income in, 4 to 6 years was most likely. So that's why he chose American General, AIG. And then it came to, get the contract. I'm going to read through every part of it, and we're going to go through it, and I'm going to ask you a lot of tough questions. So we actually read through the contract, and we wanted to know that we had the options. Now, a lot of especially old variable annuities, and some annuities still to this day, when you buy the contract, you have to elect what your payout option is going to be. So if you want single life or joint life, you have to do that when you buy the contract, and you can't change it down the road. I know a lot of people with variable annuities, especially who set them up a long time ago, with a guaranteed lifetime payment. And they might have had a single life, and now they're, getting to the point where they want to use it, and they can't change that option to a joint life. So having the optionality was very important to these guys. And so we had to make sure that was a possibility. So, and it came down. So we read the contract, we looked at all the stuff. He asked a lot of questions. We got confirmations from American General. Now, in this case, I don't get to talk to American General. This is where the insurance marketing organizations come in. So I do all of my work with a brokerage company, and the brokerage company communicates with the insurance company. And so I was getting essentially secondhand information, but we confirmed that we could do everything that he wanted to do. He bought the contract, put the money in. It was nice. It was a fairly sizable premium, and piece of cake. He was set. He was ready to go. Well, about almost 2 weeks ago, he called me. I was getting ready to have dinner with my dad and my grandma, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm looking at the statements for the contract, and it kind of doesn't make sense. I'm just wondering if we can confirm the payout rates." I said, "Sure, I'll confirm those." And I said, "I'll log in later tonight, get the documents, and then I'll call the company tomorrow." So I downloaded the contract and the most recent statement, and the statement had a payout based on him, single life, which was what was shown on the statement. And I said, well, which doesn't immediately worry me, right? Because I knew we could change things around. But I was scratching my head. Why do they have that in there? Because the contract was written as joint. It was, him as the owner, her as the joint owner, no distinction. They're just joint owners. And then she was the annuitant. So doing that's how we were told to do it, so that she would be put on the rider. And then if they wanted to add him, they could. Anyway, so I said, yeah, sure, I'll call back. And in another part of it, he said, well, I'm actually thinking maybe retirement's closer, and I might do another one. When he bought the first one, I remember at the end, he was considering putting more money into it. And we went back and forth, and, we added up all of his income sources. And I said, no, I really think you're okay with this amount. And I said, because you can always do another one if you change your mind. And so he's there where he's thinking maybe he'll do another one. And I don't know if that's possible. But so the next day I called the company, and this is another reason why it's good to have an agent that's involved, because I know what questions to ask right when I get on the phone. I had to sit with American General. I called 3 times. The first 2 times I spent about 15, 20 minutes on hold, nice elevator music. And then obviously, I'm busy, I have things going on. The phone would ring or something else would pop up. I'd have to get off and I'd call back. So finally, the third time, about after 15, 20 minutes, I finally got somebody on the line, and I said, okay, I just want to confirm the income payouts. And so we confirmed what was on the statement, but was based on his age. I said, okay, well, how about single life on his wife, the joint owner? And the guy said, you can't do that. Well, that's not true. Well, okay. I said, that's not true. That's why we bought it, so that it could be either or. And by the way, we have the application was set up so that she was single life anyhow. And he said, well, I'm sorry, you can't change that. Big red light buzzer going off in my head. This is going to be terrible. I said, what about joint life? What's the joint life payment? He said, you can't do joint life either. Well, they said, when you start the contract, that's what you get. I'm like, that's not true, because I've got, I could pull it up and I've got it in writing from various sources where you can't. And so he goes and gets the manager of the service department on the phone, and confirmed the same thing. Nope, it's single life on him only. That is the only option. And I thought, all right, this is a big problem. So I am not kidding. I didn't sleep a whole lot that night. That was a Thursday. So Friday morning, I called the brokerage company, reminded my internal sales guy what the case was. And he looked at it and he said, yeah, that seems odd. But that's how the company works. I mean, maybe I said, if that's true, what they said, I have probably a surrendered contract, a really unhappy client, as he should be. Okay. I'm going to lose another sale. Definitely. That one may not even happen. I'll lose another sale. And it's probably an E&O claim, errors and omissions. That means I made a mistake. So I looked at this and I said, I know that I didn't do this intentionally. I know it's not my fault because I looked up the emails and all the information I got from the broker, which came from the company. And I had several quotes in writing from the company itself. And because I save all that stuff. I knew it wasn't my fault, but I was going to have to take the blame because I'm the only person the client knows. And I'm ultimately responsible for it. So this is why Annuity Straight Talk is so important, because you have to be able to read the contract. We did read the contract, but I don't remember what I read 2.5 years ago. It's long, so I'm going to show you something. Anyway, so on Friday, I called the brokerage company. I said, we do not want any of this. Like, you have to call them and fix it. And I'm going to find it where they said it in writing, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire. So I was ready to raise holy hell to fix it. And I thought about all other options. So I spent Friday, I looked at some other options. I hadn't told them yet because I didn't have an answer as to what could be done. And I chose to just not worry him over the weekend because, he wasn't taking income right now. Anyway, we had some time to figure it. I wanted to have a solution before I told him. So I was talking to Ashok about it over the weekend. I started reading the contract and Ashok said, just pull up the contract and read it. Answer the question yourself. I was like, you're right. I've done it before. I'll go do it again. So I read through it. And that's what I'm going to show you. Thinking that I'm going to get sued and I probably am better off not being in this business, right? Okay. So this is the annuity contract. As you can see, it's 102 pages. I'm going straight to the guaranteed lifetime income rider. And that's about 15 pages explaining all the stuff available in the contract. So first thing I'm going to tell you right now, covered persons, the persons whose lives are used to determine the amount and duration of lifetime income. If there are two covered persons, they must be each other's spouse. Okay, so there's your definition. So the person that's getting the income is a covered person. I was told that you couldn't change that at all or do anything about it. So I'm moving down the next page. New covered person. A spouse of the covered person that is added to this rider after the rider effective date. Rider effective date is the date the contract's issued, but on and before the activation date. Activation date is the time you elect to take income. So after it's issued, before you take income, you can add a new covered person. All other terms and conditions described in this rider apply to the new covered person. So I'm thinking, well, did I get bad information? Because they caused an awfully big scare. And I was worried. I told other people, I told some other clients the story. I even told a guy I had a meeting with because I was stressed out. I had a meeting that Friday and he said, how was your week? I said, it was fine, but now it's not so great. I guess I shouldn't tell, a guy who's thinking about buying an annuity that I caused a problem, but I don't know. I felt pretty bad about it. It was a lot of money too. So I didn't want to screw it up. But here I'm looking in the contract. So the point is I want information from the company. I know that I've got some options in the contract so far, but I don't want to litigate it when he decides to take income. So if they call and say, you can't do that, and then I got to sue them and take this to court, for crying out loud, it's ridiculous. Anyway, so we're going on, and I'm going to show you that put a nail in this coffin and be done. Okay. Changes permitted on the activation date. Remember, effective is when it's issued. Activation date is when you take income. You may make one of the following changes in writing on our form with your activation date request. If there is one covered person, add a new covered person. If there are two, remove one. If there are two covered persons on the page, change one of the covered persons to a new covered person. It's like if you get a divorce and maybe remarried, then you can put your new spouse on there if you want. Okay. This change is permitted only once in the activation date. So it basically says that I can do anything that I want. And which is exactly what we thought. So this is once I read these things, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally remember reading this, because this was the key to the contract, was this part right here. Does he have the option to pick or choose who takes income? So again, I've proved it in the contract itself. So whoever the moron was that I talked to at American General, I apologize. I did say some fairly unsavory things to you, but you do need to get better at your job, because you could have avoided this altogether. Now, in fairness, the first guy I talked to, they were having some problem with their system. He was not able to pull up his contract, so he might have had limited information in front of him, but it caused a lot of stress and anxiety on my part. It wasn't until Sunday afternoon that I got into this part of it, and I thought, no big deal. But again, I want in writing from the insurance company, right? There's a couple other little things in here as well, but I want it in writing from the insurance company, because I don't want to have to fight this and do this again, in a year or 2 or 3, or maybe next month when he says, you know what, I'm going to take income. I want to know that it's seamless. Okay. So I sent this to, my broker. We got it on, and Monday was President's Day. So we didn't get anything Monday, but Tuesday we got on it. And the regional vice president from American General was kind enough to put it in writing, with a stamped letter, reference the contract, said, here, you're fine. They said, do you remember who you talked to? Because we might have to do a little extra training with that person. I said, I'm sorry, I did not get a name. But all that to say, careful what you look for in a contract. And a lot of people will, and I'll tell people these types of things about a contract, right? And I'll say, that specific contract it's no good. And they'll disagree with me. Well, the agent said that this is true. This is how I know it, because I've read these contracts. Ask Rob in North Carolina, who was my first client from the website. Was Rob in North Carolina. He's a buddy of mine now. He's a good dude. He's getting ready to retire, so all his stuff is working just right for him. But Rob came to me early days of Annuity Straight Talk. Somebody was trying to sell him a variable annuity, and I spent a long weekend reading a 190-page variable annuity contract from MetLife. Whew. That's what I did. But the thing is, when I did that, I did it for Rob. He asked me to, and I believed, and we've done business together and we're friends and everything's good. But I believed it was, I learned so much when I did it. And I learned stuff when I first sold this contract, because I read the details to a greater depth than I normally do, just simply because I work with, a handful of different contracts that I've known for a long time. So I'm not worried about any of those things in there. But if you're getting into a competitive guaranteed income scenario, those things change all the time. I mean, American General is the top right now, and then there's Symetra and National Western. And if somebody's looking for one of those and I'm going to find guaranteed income, I might end up selling a contract I've never sold before. I read the contract. And especially now, that's why it's important. You got to know what you're getting into. But if I tell you that a contract's a bum deal, or if it's not suited to your purpose, believe me, because that's how I know it. That's what I've read. And unless you've read the whole thing, then you can't take anyone else's word for it, even at times the insurance company itself. So there it is. A messed up annuity is not messed up at all. If you have a messed up annuity, or if you're confused about what you've got and how it works, give me a call and set an appointment. Schedule a call on Annuity Straight Talk. Top right corner, schedule a call button. Easy. Click the button, set your time zone, pick a day, pick a time, write some notes, say, it's easy. Anyway, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube for the videos, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. It's hosted on Castos, available on Apple, Spotify, Google, all that stuff. It's out there, and if you want to see it, go get it. So anyway, thank you for joining me. The number here is 800-438-5121. My name is Bryan Anderson. I appreciate you stopping by, and have a great day. Okay, bye.
You have been listening to Annuity Straight Talk. The preceding information is for informational and educational purposes only and does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. The views expressed by guests on this program are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Annuity Straight Talk or its partners. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. It is important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the insurance company.